What is the happy formula? It's the holy grail to be happy, to experience happiness that is profound, and to experience it for a long time. We're constantly searching for ways and methods to achieve that goal. We're fascinated by celebrities who we think of having reached that goal. We're drawn to people that seem to be happy, especially when they seem to be happy at all times. We listen to them, we emulate them because we want what they have, or at least seem to have. And we're surprised, shocked, or even secretly giddy if a celebrity falls, if it's revealed that, this happiness wasn't really real the whole time. And we try out different methods and we experiment, we try to change our own perception, try to manipulate our own thinking. Maybe if we constantly think about the right slogans, this will make us more happy and content. All these other people in the world, they have it worse than us, but none of this is really going to make us truly happy. So is happiness a myth? Is it an unreachable goal? No. Happiness is doable to a large degree. And I got 9 points here, 9 building blocks, 9 elements, 9 things you need to get right in order to dramatically increase your chances of real happiness. Number 1, the right child development and adult thinking. When we're babies, we think that we are one with the world, the cosmos. We don't understand ourselves yet as an individual among many, a vulnerable individual. It takes a while until we understand all this, and we gotta learn a lot, and the world is a big place. It takes time until we understand that. The initial illusion of being taken care of and being one with the universe, that is absolutely important for us at the beginning. The world would be too creepy otherwise. Babies, at first, they cannot even emotionally regulate themselves, so they all constantly need influence from outside. We need the initial long, deep contact to our mothers. Now, if that contact is too shallow, if it's interrupted too early, we carry this emptiness around with us for the rest of our lives. And it's difficult to impossible to fill that void, no matter what you do. So, if you are going to become a parent, if you choose to be a parent, or if you get surprised and you will be a parent, get as much right from the beginning as you possibly can. No drinking during pregnancy, no smoking, no other baloney during pregnancy. Then take really good care of that child and keep it very close for the first 2 years. That's very important, and it's part of our development. All other mammals basically do this, and so this is absolutely key. The child development is tied to the mother, so even when the children are born, they're still intimately tied to the mother. If you get all this right, these children will have a lot of capacity for true happiness, a happy life, and the more stable and successful and happy the children, the more stable and happy the parents will be, because of course you don't want troublesome, unhappy children. Difficult children can ruin, of course, the life of the parents, the happiness of the parents. So one of the most important building blocks of happiness is not rocket science, it's long, loving, close contact. Now, at some point, as children, we understand, okay, I'm an individual among many, I have to fight for attention, I have to develop relationships, I have to learn how the world works, so this is kind of, this is kind of leaving the paradise. We need to learn how to walk, to talk, to emotionally regulate ourselves, and to interact with other people. The mother is always the home base, and when they spend time in home base, they can leave the home base for a few minutes and then more minutes to have their own adventures, but they always need to be sure the home base will be there when I return. Children are egocentrical, and that's necessary at the beginning, because that's a lot of stuff they have to understand. That's a lot of, that's a big thing they have to realize. The world is not there for them. The world does not exist so to cater to every wishes, to every wish and to fulfill every need of that child. So the brain matures, personality matures, and then you get the development of responsibility and a work ethic, and that's absolutely key to happiness. A lot of people, they don't want to let go. They keep this magical childlike thinking. They maintain it into their adult life. They want other people to fulfill their wishes. So they think, I just gotta pray the right way, or gotta meditate the right way, so I can get what I want. And religion often is being misused as a replacement for this child-parent relationship. So instead of the parents fulfilling my wishes, it's now God or the gods fulfilling my wishes and serving my will. And a lot of it goes back to being superstitious. So you do rituals, and when you get lucky and you get what you want, you have reconfirmed your belief system. So you keep doing these rituals, and even when the next 999 times you don't get what you want, you still stick to it, because statistically every once in a while you get lucky. And studies have shown this to be the case, this kind of reaffirming thinking, this illusion. And we see that kind of behavior with gambling as well. So every once in a while, statistically, you're going to win, so you're going to stick around and feed more money into the machine. But that doesn't mean that you're going to make it big. Magical thinking. So, and then besides religion, some people, they get into ideology. So ideology becomes that replacement. So different ideologies, of course, that promise happiness and promise a utopia and to save the world. And even the classic family, which is an important thing, a good thing, even the classic family has been reduced to a simplistic kind of ideology. So you just marry someone you just fell in love with, and you have your statistical, 2 somewhat children. And then you build a house, or you buy a house, and you pay off that money and all that stuff. And then you get a dog, and that's supposedly going to make you happy. But it's more difficult than that. It's a lot more difficult than that. Of course, if you marry the wrong person that you just fell in love with for 6 months, and then you got used to for the next 6 months, and you think, oh, I'm getting old, I need to settle down now until it's too late. So if you marry the wrong person, if you have no idea about child development, about children, if you make all these mistakes with children, and if you have no good communication to your spouse and your children, and of course if you get into a lot of debt without having a stable family and so on, of course that's not going to make you happy. It's going to make you really, really unhappy, especially when the divorce comes, or the children, they go crazy on you, and you will be living total misery. But that doesn't mean the family is a bad thing. That doesn't mean you shouldn't try to have a successful family and a great family and a good family dynamic, and it doesn't mean you shouldn't buy a house and have a really nice home. So again, you cannot reduce it to a simple ideology. I just follow that simplistic plan, I do what's expected of me, and that's going to make me happy. It's not as simple as that. I need to understand the building blocks of happiness. And then there's ideologies that hate the classic family, like socialism, communism. They hate the family. They think that's where all the evil comes from, and so the family needs to be destroyed and all that. And many people who grew up in these classic families, unhappy families, they become adults, and they think, this didn't work for me. I'm not gonna try that. I'm gonna try the exact opposite. I'm gonna do drugs, and I'm gonna have 5 girlfriends. I'm gonna live in a socialist project and all that. But that's not gonna make you happy either. That's not gonna work either. So, and many people at some point in their life, when they're in their 40s or 50s, when it's too late for them to get married or have children, they think, man, I wish I would have tried that. So then socialists become really, really unhappy. And of course, socialism is a replacement for religion. It was designed like a religion. It pushes all these different buttons. So you got to be really careful with ideologies. It's very, very dangerous. It appeals to magical thinking and childlike thinking. Socialism promises, we will take care of you, the government is like your daddy or your mommy, and the government is going to make all the decisions and, you know, give you your allowance and whatever. So somebody else pays your rent, your food, your internet, your entertainment, your electricity, water bill, heating bill, and so on. You're going to be taken care of like you still were a child. But that kind of system is an illusion. Nobody would work, or people would just all try to become artists and try to live off government money for the most part. And of course, even if you get government money and more people get into the socialist system, the prices will rise, because why would anybody work for you and produce something for you if that person can just sit around and play video games all day and get stoned? So, prices are going to rise, you're going to end up in poverty, and then people are going to call for a completely controlled economy, and that's going to be a real nightmare. So that's not going to make you happy. Of course, monarchy is that sort of childlike thinking. The monarch is this father figure, cruel but just and all this stuff, you know, and he leads the way, he's daddy, he's kind of half god and whatever. And all other authoritarian government systems appeal to this childlike thinking. So, a very, very important building block for happiness is responsibility, mature thinking, adult thinking, and a good work ethic, because you have to work to be happy and be consistently happy. Number 2, luck is, or happiness, not luck. Language is tricky, ladies and gentlemen. Happiness has a lot to do with hormones and health and fitness. Some people believe happiness is something supernatural, magical, nothing physical, and on the other hand, everything negative, misery and all that is being portrayed as rigid and physical and material. So it's this stupid black and white thinking. But if you were to take the drug ecstasy, MDMA, or if you get injected with the neurotransmitter serotonin, you will be happier than you've ever been in your life. You will be in the clouds. You will experience happiness that other people cannot even hope to achieve. No matter what you do, if you climb a high mountain or your first child is being born, nothing can compete to this artificial chemical high, this happiness. So the artificial high is way more intense. Of course, ecstasy, drugs like MDMA are not suited to make you happy in the long run. Because you cannot mess with your brain chemistry for a long time without destroying your hormonal balance and, you know, parts of your brain. But the argument is this. Licensed therapists, they have tried in studies to give ecstasy or give serotonin to patients with severe depression to prove to them happiness is possible. Happiness can be experienced by you. It's not hopeless. Here is the irrefutable proof. We're not just telling you and try to convince you, talk you into continuing with your life. No, we're going to prove to you. Here's that pill. Take it and you're going to have a super awesome experience that's going to make you want to continue with therapy. Of course, ecstasy and these pills, there are a crutch. You can't just pop pills. Of course, that goes back to that childlike thinking. I'm just going to pop a pill, you know, not make an effort and I'm going to be happy. It's not as simple. For the most part, people get prescribed with these psychotropic drugs, selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, and of course these studies, the trials and so on, they have proven that they are marginally better than placebos, worthless sugar pills, but they have, serious side effects. So that's not a simple solution either for depression, to fix unhappiness. So it's best to naturally produce the necessary hormones for happiness. And you gotta know how to do that. Humans, we are geared towards survival, primarily for survival. Happiness is secondary. So the body needs the building blocks for hormones, essential amino acids, nutrients, and so on, lots of high quality protein. Amino acids, they form long chains and they fold together into proteins. And you need all these good hormones, testosterone, estrogen, dopamine, serotonin, a lot more. So the right sports, they will give you more of these hormones. It improves your physique, improves your self-esteem, improves your actual strength. And that all makes you a lot happier. You cannot solve every problem in your head with the right technique or the right slogan or praying or meditation. You need the physical foundation for happiness. On the other side, of course, sport and healthy food does not guarantee you happiness. It's not as simple. There's these other building blocks. So some people, they have personality deficits or heavy personality disorders, and they get into sport and they work out like crazy, and that kind of makes them somewhat more happy, but it still doesn't fill that void that they have. It still doesn't cure a personality disorder. Then you gotta take care of your sleep quality. Deep sleep, maybe you should read up on sleep quality and try to improve your sleep. This will make you happier. Especially, don't stare into displays in the 2 hours before you actually fall asleep. Just a hint. There's research being done on how this ruins our brain waves and ruins our sleep when we watch television or surf the internet or whatever right until we fall asleep. Number 3, happiness has a lot to do with money. Of course, we all know that famous saying, money doesn't buy happiness, or money doesn't, wealth doesn't make you happy or whatever. And a lot of young people from the middle class or the upper middle class, they fall for this nonsense and they don't understand how important money is. They see their wealthy or, affluent but unhappy parents, and they think, nah, this is not the right way. My parents, they care so much about money, but look how unhappy they are. I'm going to do something very different. I'm not going to be focused on money. But, of course, that's a stupid idea. The young people, when they become adults, they want to go out into the world and they want to improve the world or become happy. And, of course, they're being scammed and they're being exploited. At some point, many learn their lesson. Money is wonderful. The security and safety it offers, the spare time it can give you, the possibilities, the objects you can buy, you can reward yourself with, traveling. Money is wonderful. So, from an early age on, you should think about money. Especially when you're in school and you think, I hate school, this makes me unhappy, my parents are unhappy, society is unhappy, I'm unhappy, so I'm just gonna, smoke pot and play video games and not make an effort. Well, guess what? You're gonna be very, very unhappy. Think about money and career early. Of course, money cannot magically fix psychological issues or real personality disorders, but when you have money, you have more capacity to tackle a problem or to help somebody in your family. Good therapists, they cost money, necessary time to deal with an issue. That all requires money and that the safety it offers. Number 4, control over your own thoughts. Your ego boundaries, this invisible barrier where you control who or what gets close to you and what not. Regulating your thoughts consciously. Usually you don't learn it in school or from your parents, but you can learn this and it's not rocket science. Sometimes it's too difficult to do because of traumatizations and these super strong negative thoughts and memories are in your brain. They've already been put in there by your surroundings, by the surrounding people or the surrounding system. So they have already broken through your ego barrier. And it's very easy to trigger these memories. Often people do that themselves or other people. They push the right buttons, they say the right words, and they just toss you right back into the misery, and so you repeat these thoughts in your head. So that's the reason bad people, really evil people, like to trample on others, because the victims, they lose the ability to control their own thoughts. Now, evil people come in different varieties, different styles. Some people are subtle. They find out where your weak points are, and then they work with subtle methods, just eroding your confidence and your ego boundaries. I mean, everybody knows this. Somebody annoys you, really, really annoys you, and you keep thinking about that for the rest of the day and for the next days, and this person really got into your head. So, many who have experienced a lot of heavy abuse, people who have been, people who suffered through all these things, they sometimes start to control their own their own thoughts and emotions too much and in the wrong way. So we're talking about narcissistic traits, narcissistic thinking, and the narcissistic personality disorder. These people, they are their own dictator in their own head, and they kill all feelings and thoughts that don't fit into their narrative of being perfect and being the greatest thing ever. They're being always right and being absolutely wonderful. So that's of course a very dangerous and bad way to control your own thoughts. And then you have the New Age esoterics and religion. They often work with thought control. If you think in a certain direction, if you have doubts, if you have your own mind, you're supposed to stop yourself and then punish yourself and be afraid and be fearful. In the famous novel 1984 by Orwell, this is called Crime Stop. And of course, usually religion or New Agers, they try to get you to believe that you're being watched 24/7 and you're being judged 24/7. So this kind of paranoia would drive me insane. It's not really helpful, especially with children. Now, New Age esoterics, they teach people you have to stop every negative thought to be happy. You have to completely eradicate negative thinking to be happy. You see these stupid movies about the law of attraction or the secret, laws. With these protagonists, they become they become happy, or people become really successful because they know the secret of positive thinking. In reality, people turn themselves crazy. They deny reality. They deny themselves important feelings such as aggression or fear. These people, they become more and more fanatic. They put on the fake smile and they force themselves to think happy thoughts. And of course, the New Age esoteric leaders, they claim outside of the New Age, you're being controlled with fear and guilt. So all these other groups out there, these other people, they want to control you with fear and guilt, but not us. But when you look in the literature, of course, New Age esoterics, they do the same thing. They claim the world is such a bad place because not enough people have signed up for this esoteric belief system yet, and you have to do this esoteric work. You have to send out magical love to bad people to fix the world, and that's the only way to really fix the world and fix evil. All this nonsense. So, if you get unlucky, if you have an accident and it's not your fault, the esoterics will say it is your fault because you had negative thoughts and you attracted that bad event into your life. So it's blaming the victim. That's a very simple technique. So it was either your fault that somebody rammed into your car. It's either your fault or the people around you who are not esoteric New Age believers. So these dangerous people around you, they attract this negative energy, and you had this bad event happening to you. So you should separate yourself from these non-believers. So that's cult thinking. A healthy control over your own thoughts requires exercise, requires knowledge, and it's also very important to have people around you who are stable, who have intact ego boundaries, and you have good communication. So you can exchange thoughts, you have real yardsticks, and you can really benefit from this communication, and that of course always makes you happy. Number 5, don't do drugs. Seriously. The hunt for happiness is the reason number 1 people take drugs. It's a flawed, horrible way of self-medicating. And then there's these other sub-reasons, like fighting boredom. Boredom being, I'm not happy, I don't feel any happiness, this is horrible, I wanna be happy. Finding friends or so-called friends, laughing, not feeling pressure, feeling euphoric. All this is just trying to feel happiness. In the United States, for example, we have a meth epidemic, and it's not just people in the low classes that take meth and get addicted because they think, I can't compete in this world, in this job market, and I don't want to spend my life unhappy working 3 jobs and still be in debt. No, I want to experience that artificial chemical high. It's not just people from it's not just low class people. It's often middle class or upper middle class people. Even young women from an affluent home with good school grades, they become addicted to meth. Why? Because they're not happy and they want to try something out and they want to feel that happiness. Meth is the devil. Not everybody completely falls apart like in the documentaries and anti-drug commercials, but this stuff is really, really dangerous. Because reality cannot compete. You have to know and you have to understand that you will never, if you don't take drugs, if you never take drugs in your life, you will never have that artificial, that extreme high that you can get from meth or heroin or something else. So you're not gonna have these peaks, these extreme spikes, but you can have, without the drugs, you can have a long-lasting happiness, a profounder happiness. Prolonged happiness requires work, cleverness, routine, discipline. Taking drugs is easy, but there's a lot of illusions about drug use or drug abuse. Almost no drug can be successfully integrated into your daily life for a long time. This is just basically impossible. The human body is not made for meth. For meth abuse, toxic byproducts, they destroy your immune system, nervous system, cause depression and so on. So there's a lot of people in prison or on the street needing their next fix, having to become criminals, and they're gonna lose their teeth and all that, so that's pretty miserable. But also kind of the party drugs like cocaine, they can cause serious heart problems the first time you use it or the first couple of times you use it. It's not like in the movies or with celebrities where we think, oh, they just take so much of this stuff and they have a great life and they go on these binges for a week and have sex with porn stars and, oh man, I wish I could do that too. It can literally destroy a life the first few times you try. Charlie Sheen always said, I'm such a winner, I have Adonis blood, I'm not from this earth, I'm better than everyone else, I'm a total winner, and the average person out there is just jealous of me, and there are these people out there, they're all unhappy losers. So, he was able to have his binge parties, but his children, they had to watch pretty miserable things, and, you know, this wasn't really good for the children, and all these, you know, police incidents with his former wives, and you know, violence, and all these accusations. That's pretty miserable. And then he made a fool of himself in interviews, and his solo tour was a flop. So happiness is something else, ladies and gentlemen. Just very few people actually become stars in acting or music. That's a really, really rare thing. Most people never come anywhere close. And even people who achieve that, they're not going to be famous for a long time. They could have a successful career for 5 years and then be gone. But we only see, mostly, for the most part, we only see the celebrities who made it, and that's why we kind of subconsciously think, yeah, it can be done, you know, be happy and take a lot of drugs. But we normal people, non-famous people, we fail trying this method. We had this case of, what was his name, this basketball player, Lamar Odom, I think was his name. He almost died from one of these binges. He might need a organ donation. So this is gonna, you know, influence his life, the rest of his life, and this can go horribly wrong. So maybe he doesn't get it in time, and he's gonna die. And all this can really mean a lot of costs for the rest of his life. So even if you're a sports star, you might be broke in 20-30 years because you have to spend all this money. And then there's marijuana, which is fun in the beginning, gives you that feeling of being content. You know, it's you're more like, okay, this is good. I'm okay. I'm happy. You know, normal stuff seems more interesting on marijuana. But after a while, you feel strange, but you still don't want to stop doing it. Some people stop and they never touch anything else. They outgrow that marijuana use. Some people, of course, they smoke more and more stuff, and of course that's not very healthy, and that doesn't make you happy. It's not good for your health, and you get caught at some point, and you have trouble with your driver's license, your job. And there's the question, is this an entry-level drug? Well, not directly. If you take marijuana, you're not going to have a sudden urge, you know, a super urge for a harder, more dangerous drug. But smoking pot gets boring after a while, really boring and annoying. Of course, every person is different. Some people stop marijuana and stop drugs completely. Some people think, I'm so fed up with this pot and, you know, the way it makes me feel, and this is so slow, I want to try something fast and stimulating, so they try meth or they try ecstasy or whatever. So it's always determined by what is your motivation, what is your reason. So if you're looking for happiness and so on, then you're not gonna do pot for a long time. You're gonna look for something else. Then there's opiates, heroin, pills, this class of drugs. So for the first 6 months, you're not going to have any withdrawals, serious withdrawal symptoms. You're going to have a wild rush. You're going to feel better than normal people will feel ever in their lives. These incredibly high peaks, but then suddenly after 6 months, you're an addict. So you got to get your pills, your heroin. You got to you're going to get the money to buy it. You got to have side effects, the criminality, diseases, and you're going to get used to the drugs, so you're going to need different varieties, and you're going to need more of them, and this can kill you. It's just like cancer patients. At some point, nothing works anymore. And then there's alcohol. Alcohol gives you a short window of fun and euphoric feelings. But then you get maybe sad, you get nauseous, you might get aggressive. It's different with different people. So it doesn't really pay off. Alcohol doesn't really pay off, and it ruins your hormones that are necessary for happiness. Ruins your hormone levels. Cigarettes are baloney too. They tie themselves, the chemicals, they tie themselves to your brain chemistry. And they give you these dopamine highs. But after the high, you fall into this hole. You feel cranky, and you need a new cigarette. You need a new fix just to feel good again or normal again. But in the long run, your health and your energy and happiness is going to decline. When you get cancer, you're in literal hell. So you have to make a decision. I'm not gonna go for these short extreme highs. I'm not gonna go for these peaks. I'm gonna try and have a prolonged, successful, happy life. Number 6, understand that luck is, or happiness is often fake. Pretending is a powerful weapon, and many people use that weapon. There are these gurus, religious gurus or ideological gurus that always appear to be happy. They always smile. They put on a smile when the camera is on, and they create this impression they're always happy and they're so cool and so charismatic. They're above everything and above everybody else. But if you dig deeper, these gurus, they're usually very bitter and they're narcissistic, and usually they haven't really worked out their mama issues. A lot of them, they hate women. So dangerous, problematic people, they can appear to be super happy. They seem like the born leaders, but you know, this is all bluff and fakery. When we are vulnerable, we're in danger of suspending logical thinking. We just go to these cults and we follow these stupid books and stupid gurus because the drive towards happiness is usually stronger than logical thinking. But logical thinking, of course, is very important for happiness. Number 7, psychological knowledge. Understand basics of psychology, of your own psychology and the psychology of others that can prevent a lot of unhappiness and make you more happy, make you more understanding of the world and things and why your parents were the way they were and so on. So you get lots of dangerous people. People with narcissistic personality disorder, antisocial disorder, emotional instability. These people are hell. They make us unhappy, and they use certain techniques to bind us, to attract us, and then to enslave us. They shower us in the beginning with love and attention. They love bomb us. They seem exciting and irresistible. But as soon as they have control over us, the mask falls and they start to suck out our energy to make us tired and unhappy. These people want to control us, and to do this, they have to make us unhappy. They have to erode our confidence, because when we're happy, we're independent, we're free, we can go anywhere. We don't need these dangerous people. But if we're fearsome and tired and unsure, they can control us and they can get what they want. Now, dangerous people, they often get into positions of leadership. That's why our whole society is pretty dysfunctional and evil. So the system tries to make us unhappy and then give us these fake methods to experience some shadow of happiness. You know, drink this beer, watch this sports for hours, play these video games, buy some crap you don't need that makes you happy for 5 minutes. Or change your perception and just talk yourself into, you know, feeling happy or whatever, you know. So you need to stay away from toxic people, toxic personalities. These people are vampires and they will ruin your life. Learn how these disorders, what these disorders are. Learn how to recognize them, especially recognize them early on, recognize the warning signs. You don't need to become a master in psychology, you know, you don't need to be somebody who can pinpoint the diagnosis and know the right treatment or whatever, right therapy. It's enough if you know the warning signs and, you know, decide I'm not going to risk anything with that person. You know, this doesn't seem right, this doesn't feel right. It's just like with driving a car. You can drive a car, you can operate a car safely without being an automotive engineer, without being without being able to design an engine or a transmission. You don't need all that. You can operate a car, you can drive it, you can look for warning signs, you know, I'm gonna buy this car or the other car. This car doesn't seem right, I'm not gonna buy it. So it's the same with psychology. Psychological knowledge is really important to understand yourself and to understand others. We're all different through our genetics and the way we grew up, but there's certain mechanisms and patterns that we can understand, and it's very important for happiness. Of course, the established psychotherapy, established psychology is littered with problems and toxic individuals, but that's not a reason to dismiss psychology altogether. So it's not, and therapy and getting better is not about constantly rewinding and replaying these bad memories. It's much more complex and interesting. Number 8, learn how to make good choices. So there are lots of techniques to make better choices, and most people, they are very unhappy because they make bad choices all the time and they don't know how to make better choices. So there's lots of techniques, and you can find them in good literature or even online. Take your time for decisions, do your research, improve your research techniques, play devil's advocate, trash an idea as hard as you can for 10 minutes and see what sticks. You can ask people who already made such and such a decision what they're thinking. You can ask experts. You can make lists. You can make a risk-benefit analysis. You can ask yourself, where am I going to be in 5 years, in 10 years? You should have a backup plan and just to develop a healthy, good method to make decisions. And you gotta learn about these common thinking traps, these mistakes we do while we're thinking. For example, the contrast principle. If you're buying if you want to buy a house or a car, you know, the salesman will likely show you a real bad object first and then a acceptable object later. So in contrast, the barely acceptable object looks better because you just saw, you know, the crappy house or the crappy car. All these sort of tricks, and you have to understand what these thinking traps are and how to avoid them when you're making choices. Number 9, religion. It's difficult. Of course, it can be nice to believe that there's a loving God behind everything and everyone. You're going to be in heaven. You're going to see the dead again. That can motivate if you believe that God is helping you, is actively helping you, or tossing good things your way. But problems can arise when bad things happen to you, even though you are a believer and you do all these rituals. So it's very confusing to people. So why is this bad stuff happening to me? So people, sometimes they become very religious later on to fix a problem, for example, a drug problem or something else. You know, they use religion and then they can feel happy again. They dump the drugs, so their health gets better. They experience more happiness. Then they keep going with their belief system. But what happens if bad things happen to them? Just because it's just by accident, you know, with no fault of that person. That confuses the heck out of people. You know, what is going on, God? I need help. Why are you not there for me anymore? We had such a great relationship. We had a deal. I worship you and you make me happy and successful. So that can backfire really bad. So somebody who is not religious, if that person experiences a bad event, you know, this is a setback, something horrible, a non-religious person might think, okay, I gotta make better decisions, I'm gonna be better prepared, I can't control everything that's life, I'm gonna deal with it, and this is a process that takes time. Somebody who's religious, that can, you know, if something bad happens, that can push them into a deeper hole because they think God left me, or the whole, you know, religious belief was just an illusion and so on. So you gotta be really careful with religion. And here you have them, the 9 building blocks, the 9 strategies of happiness.